Hi, I'm Raylene Taskoski, and I've talked to over 10,000 women about sex over the past decade. Welcome to the Stand-Up Comedy Sex Ed podcast.
Welcome to Stand-Up Comedy Sex Ed. It's where you can get questions answered like,
how long does it take the average man to orgasm?
And
how long does it take the average woman to orgasm?
And also,
why is it so hot in here?
Audiences agree it's brilliantly funny. Raylene makes sex ed fun. This show is entertaining, factual, and relatable.
There's nothing worse than being halfway done with sex and feeling your vagina shut down on you.
You've got to see Stand-Up Comedy Sex Ed.
I am ready to go do that comedy show.
Welcome to the Stand-Up Comedy Sex Ed podcast, hosted by Raylene Taskoski and some other guy, girl, guest, or guru. And today's guest guru is Jaylyn Jones. Welcome to the show, Jaylyn. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi. So I am currently an assistant director in Residence Life. And when I'm not running behind thousands of college-age students trying to help them get their life together, I am a dance fitness instructor and really just kind of like, I try and be an overall body badass is how I like to think of myself. And so I try and find ways to help people learn to love their bodies because we only get one. So why not love the one that we're in?
Exactly. Oh my God, I'm already in love with you. You just said a couple of things that I love. One, that you work in a college. And two, that you're a dance fit instructor. And my daughter, my youngest, is also a dance fit instructor. Or she will be coming next semester. At the University of Connecticut. So
nice. What format does she teach?
It's kind of a Zumba style is
okay.
the best that they could. I mean, they can't use those words, but
right.
She is a hip hop dancer.
Same.
So she just rocks out with the Zumba. So college life. I'm so excited because I love to talk to college girls specifically about sex.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things. And so are you an RA or do you work at the college?
I work at the college. So I supervise the people that supervise the people that supervise the RAs.
Oh, okay. You're way up there.
Not way up there, but up there enough. So I was an RA in college. And then I was like, well, one, I was a terrible RA. I was awful. Like I followed none of the rules and did none of the things that I was supposed to do because I hated it. And so then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then someone was like, you want a job? And I was like, sure. And I hated it. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to make my own rules. And so someone else was like, would you like a promotion? And I was like, okay, sure. When I get a promotion, I can make the rules. And I couldn't make the rules yet. And so then I got another promotion. And now I kind of make the rules with some approval from my supervisor and her supervisor.
That's fantastic. It's different colleges are obviously different. We've got one local college where I have done parties there, but I wanted to do something more official.
Yeah.
And they didn't want me to talk about, they were like, no, those kind of things lead to kids having more sex. And I was like, I'm sorry, what cave era did you come from? And then I've done parties at the other college where the RAs will actually have me come in and they'll mark me as kind of an event, a sex ed event. And that's cool. But again, because I was going through my direct sales company, I could only talk to the girls. But now that I have my own stand-up comedy sex ed business, I'm looking for, co-ed. And then I also have my Let's Talk About Sex talk, which encompasses everybody.
Yeah.
So what are they doing for sex ed in your college?
So nothing necessarily in particular. It's interesting for me. I've been in a couple different settings. So like as a college student myself, the very first program I ever went to was a sex toy party. I am still to this day unsure how my RA swung that, but like in our lounge, like I got in one of those like over the door sex swings just in the lounge.
Nice.
And that was our program. We had a passion party person come in and talk us through the toys, and it was a great time. And then I worked my last institution. I had students that wanted to have a program about sex and could not put the word sex in the title.
Well, that's, like, that's where you would get away with it using passion parties. Now all of passion parties are under pure romance. So
no pure romance, no in the bedroom, no at night. Like, we literally had to call this program Let's Talk About Blank.
Oh, wow. So are you in a really conservative college?
Not currently. Where I was before was in, I wouldn't even say it's a conservative state, but it's an abstinence only state. And so it was a real shift. Our students were coming in knowing nothing, and then people wanted to be like, okay, cool, amazing. I know that my peers don't know anything about sex. Can I have programs about sex? And we had to be like, oh, you want to have programs? You have programs about consent. But if you wanted to actually talk about, like, all right, cool. Consent is amazing. We love it. Incredible. What do you do after that, though? And that was where the gap was. They're like, cool, I know how to have conversations about the starting. What do I do if I want somebody to eat me out, though? Like, what? What happens then?
Right. How do we have that conversation? I say just get right on their face. They'll get the point.
I would agree, but I think there's so much like question marks and shame. It's like, what if I taste bad? What if I smell bad? What if I shave? Do I need to shave? Is it rude if I don't shave? I'm like, you can do whatever you want to do.
There are so many conversations that should be had. I had talked a little bit earlier with someone that I'm going to have on a later show, and we talked about that I had read a statistic where something like 43% of women enter college as virgins, and by the end of their freshman year, that number is down to 22%. And one thing that I had come across more than once is that girls are getting rid of their virginity. They're not finding a boyfriend and having sex for the first time in a relationship. They're just like, pardon the crudeness of this phrase, they're just popping their own damn cherry so they don't have it anymore.
Right. I think there's this like stigma sometimes of like, well, everybody else is certainly that, like, I'm weird if I haven't had sex. Like, I went to college a virgin and definitely felt that sense of like, oh, everyone else around me has definitely already had sex and had lots of sex, and I am weird if I haven't had sex yet.
Right. And then when you do have sex, you find out that nobody has had sex. And you're like, oh.
Right. And if they are having sex, it is like awkward, not great sex. Like, I thought it was going to be some like mystical world that was going to open up for me. And I was like, oh, okay, this is just regular people doing regular people stuff. This is
right. That's why I think every girl should know how to masturbate and know how to give herself an orgasm before she's ever with a guy, or another girl, however their relationship is. And it's because, and I say this, and I'll probably say this every show that I ever do this, it's easier to give directions to the Tasty Freeze in Orlando if you have been to the Tasty Freeze in Orlando, right? It's really hard for you to tell your partner what you want and what you like if you don't know what you want and what you like.
Right. I think that's so important. I think we don't, especially with women, there's not those like same sorts of conversations with like college age men. They're like, yeah, of course you jack off all the time, whatever. Like, that is a boy thing to do, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But I think with women, there's this like dirtiness associated with like, what do you mean you touch yourself, or you have toys, or you watch porn? Like, who does that?
I just think it's funny because it's so much less physically and actually dirty for a girl to masturbate. Like, we don't make a mess. We don't make a lot of hand motions. We can like pretty much do it right in front of you and you wouldn't notice unless we want you to.
Very self-contained.
Right. There's no cleanup afterwards, no lotion involved. It's
no Kleenex. Like, honestly, it's better for the environment.
Exactly. It's just a little wiggle and a thought. So I like to talk about condoms, and because I actually still, after 24 years of marriage, still use condoms. They're easy cleanup. I decided at some point that my vagina was a National Park Service. Carry in, carry out, no child left behind. And so every now and then I'll come across a college girl and she'll say, well, my partner doesn't want me to he doesn't want to use a condom. And I'm like, and what do you say? And she goes, well, I don't want to make him uncomfortable. And I'm like, that's the wrong answer. You are in control of this situation. So if actually, I just said this today to the girl, and I'm going to put it in my new comedy show. The next time you have a partner who says he doesn't want to have sex with a condom, say, okay, but then lean in real close to his ear and whisper, what should we name the baby?
I was having this conversation with one of my male friends who I find it fascinating that, like, for the individuals that need to stick themselves inside the condom, they're clueless about how condoms like actually work and function.
Right.
And so we were having this whole conversation about how he felt that he like really needed to make sure he had a stash of Plan B.
Ugh. And
I was like, what? And he's like, well, yeah, you need a stash of, you need to have some Plan B on deck. And it's like, well, what if she gets pregnant? Like, what if the condom breaks? Like, condoms break all the time. And I was like, condoms don't.
Yeah. What is it, like 99 point? Isn't it like 99.3% safe? Something like that. Yeah, it's certainly more than 97%, but I thought it's very small number of condoms break.
Right. And so I'm like, sir, what are you doing that you are finding that your condoms regularly break? And he's like, what? That's not a thing. No, not a thing. Well, what if she pokes holes in it? That's when you do the little pillow test. You give her a squeeze and...
Why would she poke holes in your condom? Where is your condom that she's poking holes in? Do they think there's a lot of girls running around trying to get knocked up right now? This is not the 1960s.
He is a millionaire friend, and so he has a lot of paranoia.
Oh, okay.
About women wanting to have his baby. That being said, I'm like, sir, if you don't want to have these children, I like really need you to get on the ball.
Right, because if somebody wants to get pregnant, they're not going to take your Plan B.
Yeah.
They're going to chuck that shit over their shoulder and be like, yeah, I swallowed it.
Yeah, I was like, Plan B is less effective for women over 180 pounds. And he was like, what? I thought it worked for everyone. And I was like, no.
I didn't even know that last bit of information.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's a scam, but it feels like a scam to be like, we're not like, yes, I am chubby, but I'm chubby and I have sex and I want to have emergency contraceptive plans that work for me. And
I will share this bit of information, which I didn't think I would ever share. We did have one condom break. I talk about it in my comedy show, but I had a condom break. We got the Plan B, and then the next day or the day after, I just got really, really dizzy. Like, I couldn't sit up straight. I was literally falling over, like the whole world was spinning. And I called a friend of mine who was a paramedic, and my husband was out of town, and I said, he had just left after the Plan B thing. He was there for I don't want anybody getting the idea that he wasn't there for this.
He's supportive.
Right. He bought the Plan B. He was involved in this, but then he went out of town for work. And so I called my friend. She goes, and I said, I literally can't sit up. I'm falling over. And she goes, well, I would go to the emergency thing. Like, you could be having a stroke or something. So I called my dad. My dad brought me in, and I'm going through, has this changed, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, all right, well, we want to do a brain scan to see if you got something going on. So I go in and I get the brain scan, MRI, and I get home that night. My husband calls after work, and he's like, so what happened with your day? And I'm like, oh, this happened, and I got an MRI, and, and I'm like really worried because I'm still dizzy. And he goes, do you think it has anything to do with that Plan B? I was like, son of a bitch. And then I look on the back, one of the things is extreme dizziness. And I was just like, well, that was well, now I have a brain scan, so now I know what it used to look like if anything happened. So
Right. We're good. Okay.
it's a before picture of my brain now.
Yes. I also took a Plan B one time, had a condom break, and so I like sent my then boyfriend to the pharmacy to go purchase this Plan B. He's gone for like a solid hour, and like the pharmacy's on campus, so it should have been like a 10-minute walk. He finally comes back, and I'm like, what happened to you? And he's like, well, I walked to the pharmacy, and then I realized, what if somebody saw me? So I didn't want to go to the pharmacy on campus. So then I walked to the nearest CVS. It was $20 more, but I didn't want anybody to see me. I'm like, did you want to invite them to our baby shower? Like, get the Plan B and come back here. It's a pharmacy. They don't even let you stand that close. They put it in a bag. Like,
Yeah.
What dirty secrets are you carrying?
Exactly. I mean, there's nothing that says I just had sex more than a Plan B. Like,
True.
Things have gone amiss.
Right.
So you are a speaker?
Yeah.
Or you want to be a speaker?
Both and. So I currently find ways to speak in my position. Nobody's paid me any money to speak yet. So we're working on that part. Yes. They will. That hasn't happened yet. And so I think I have been fortunate in being able to work with a lot of different sororities on my campus, on other campuses, on previous campuses, particularly around like, how do we start having some of these conversations? How do we talk about, one, my whole thing is about radical love and what that looks like. How do we love ourselves? How do we love our bodies? How do we love other people for all of their flaws and all of their identities? And how do we build community around that?
It sounds like a great talk.
Yeah, and I think it has shown up in a lot of ways. Sometimes that's a conversation about diversity inclusion. Sometimes it's a conversation about racism. Sometimes it's a conversation about our own self-confidence, our own self-power. Sometimes it's conversations about how do I have conversations with other people about these things? And so it's really about how do we get to spaces where we can be honest with ourselves first, and then being honest about what we need. So I think when I saw your post at first, I was like, well, I don't really talk about sex ed. I don't like talk about sex per se. And then I thought more about it. I'm like, what is more vulnerable and where do we see more negative body talk than when we need to strip naked in front of someone? Exactly. And then say, put yourself inside me.
Right. Or, yeah. And that's, and it's, you know, I've been married for 24 years. So there's a approximate close to 100-pound difference between when we met and where I am now. Well, 80 pounds. And it changes the way your body responds to things. And I was thinking about it today, like if you gain a couple of extra pounds everywhere, that fat pad that covers your vulva and your mons pubis is literally pushing your partner away from you. And it's the same thing if you're a male and you have a penis, that fat pad makes your penis shorter. And so you've got to,
and you got to like do the little lift up.
Yeah. But you have to, I mean, and own who you are and what you look like and be okay with it. And your partner's okay with it and you're okay with it. It's cool, but be aware that it will change things over time. And so that happens, you know, when you've been married for a while and you both start to gain some weight, you have to change the way you do things because shit's just not going to line up anymore. Right. So yeah, there is sometimes that get that like I have an entire joke about getting on the face and how it's better if you have a thigh gap because if you have mermaid thighs, he might have trouble breathing, you know, but if he dies, he dies. You know?
Yes. that is probably my favorite meme. Like, get on top, sis. If he dies, he dies. Like,
Exactly. And so anyway, I have a whole joke about that, and it stems. Most comedy stems at least partially from personal experience. So most of my jokes, you know, it was literally a thought. Like, if I'm up here too long, will I kill him?
Sometimes you got to test those limits. Is he good at holding his breath?
You'll have to see the jokes sometime. I can't do it. You know, it's like you have to be on the stage and stuff, but it's so stupid.
Yeah. I watched a couple of your videos on YouTube.
That one's not going to be in there.
I very much related to the vulva mullet.
Yes. That one. I think I'm putting that one in a comedy contest this week because, you know, normally when you submit, it's a 5-minute video, and this time they want a 3-minute video, and I'm like, I don't have any 3s that I love, but I do like that one. But I don't let the comedy show or the stand-up comedy sex ed ones where it really gets it gets into the rated R subject out there, because I want to be booked by colleges. You know, I want to be able to do my stand-up comedy sex ed where I educate and entertain, but it, you know, it's a conversation about sex. It's gonna get naughty.
Right. And I think it's also, colleges have to be willing to like recognize where good healthy boundaries are. Like, I fully recognize that like where I went for undergrad made some wild choices. I support all of those choices, but I understand how we got the backlash for some of it. Like, we had a sex carnival one year.
Ooh.
And we had no context of like what was going to be happening. The whole program was like planned, and they're like, we need volunteers to come run booths. So I signed up to be like, okay, cool, I'm an RA, I'll volunteer at this sex carnival. And I show up, and we're in the middle of campus, and there is all of the goodies you could imagine. There were make your own vagina cupcakes. I think there was like a cock ring toss. They're raffling off vibrators. There's like a game called Squirt. There's like pin the clitoris on the vagina. Like, it is in full swing everywhere you look. So we're going, having a grand old time, and there's a parent tour that walks through the middle, because we're in like the main quad area of campus.
You know, none of those kids none of those kids were allowed to go to your college.
And like the dads notice what's happening around them first, and they're doing this like, look over there, and they're kind of like giggling. And this mom stops and looks at me and just starts screaming. Like, not any actual words, but just is screaming as if she is in a haunted house, like horrified at the sight.
Wow.
And I was like, oh God, okay. Oh, all right. But it was like great and educational and fun. I don't think she loved it, but like, it was a choice. And like, that was a choice that made sense, being in California, being in Southern California, being at a private school. Yeah. You do stuff like that. I don't know if they let me have the cock ring toss here.
I don't see why not. I mean, for me, it's all about removing the stigma of body parts and about sex. Everybody has sex. That's how we got here. That's how we will continue to be here.
Right.
You can't procreate without sex. I fully believe God put the clitoris on the outside of the body so that we could find it accidentally riding a horse, shimmying up a pole, in a car seat, you know, just leaning in a certain way up against the washing machine. Like, he was like, oh, they're going to make them do the laundry. Let's give them something fun. It's there for a reason. And I think to pretend it doesn't exist or to make it shameful is wrong. It's wrong. There's no way God said, oh my God, I'm going to give them this thing that feels so good. They're going to say my name every single time they do it. And then man and religion said, oh no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And he's probably up there going, what the fuck?
Right. I threw you a bone this time. This one was free.
Exactly. I also, and this kind of bothers some Christian people, of which I am one, but I just don't subscribe to the same knowledge or the same whatever belief system. I don't think that there's a right or a wrong way and a right or a wrong person to have sex with. I don't think God gave us this ability to enjoy making love and said, but you can only do it one way. I just don't think he did.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And that's for the people who want to believe in God. If you don't believe in God, then who gives a shit what he says, right?
Right. I think everybody has to kind of figure out what is right and what works for them. And I think you're going to have some people that are like, I want all 31 flavors and I want it every day, all the time. Like, cool, that's incredible. If you have that kind of stamina and fitness,
amen.
I applaud it.
Stamina and the fitness have to go into it. Yeah.
Listen, I cannot get on top, not for long. That's squats. I don't care what nobody says. Those are squats.
Yes. I get a Charlie horse. I'm like, ow, what the fuck? Ow.
Burn, you're like, let's roll over.
There's, I think as long as the two people are consenting adults, anything they do, they should enjoy however they want to do it. As long as they're both enjoying it and they're both consenting, nobody else's business.
Right. There are millions of people right now having sex. Are they bothering me in this moment? Absolutely not. I don't know what's happening in their beds, cars,
right.
Public parks.
Yeah. Trying to think. I was trying to throw in somewhere naughty that I've had sex, but I haven't had sex naughty anywhere. So now I feel bad. I feel like I should have contributed to this conversation.
That is okay. I am also not necessarily someone that's like a naughty place sex haver.
If I want to enjoy it, I have to concentrate. And if I'm constantly worried that somebody can see my butt, oh, that's true. We did it in a boat once. We did. I remember this because we were just underneath the bridge in the boat, and my husband kept saying, he wasn't my husband, he was still my boyfriend at the time. He's like, somebody's going to see my butt. Somebody's going to see my butt. Someone's going to see my butt. And I'm like, dude, nobody's going to see your butt from over there. It's fine.
Also, that's what you're worried about?
Exactly. Focus on me.
Right.
But in those situations, I'm, less likely to orgasm because I can't concentrate.
Right. Like, I am not one of those people that's like, ooh, the thrill of possibly being caught. I'm like, oh God, what if I get caught?
Exactly. I don't want to be caught. I don't want to see this either. I don't want anybody else to see it, but now we're going back to body positivity.
Right.
I think it was somebody that I love who is making a t-shirt design, and she said, sexy is a mindset, not a size. And I think that's amazing, and I hope she does make that shirt, and then I will buy it from her because it's really cool.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of also what makes, I don't know, I don't want to say that sex is hard, but I think it gets complicated when we get distracted by like, oh God, is my partner attracted to me? They're going to see my stomach. They're going to see my cellulite. Do they think I'm sexy? Like, I think there's a lot of like emphasis on making it this almost like a performance. Like, I need to be hot. I need to look and moan and make the faces of like the girls in the porn. Like, it's.
Oh, and just don't make the moans and the screams, for Christ's sakes. I've been in so many hotels where I've heard the person in the room next to me. I had one, honest to God, she was squealing like a goat. And my husband and I were trying to have sex on our side, and I could hear this woman, and she's making this sound, and I just lost it. I started laughing, and I was like, we're going to have to try it again later because I cannot have an orgasm listening to this goat next door. And I was just like, is her partner really enjoying this? Or, I don't know, maybe he is.
Is she really enjoying it?
Because she's putting a lot into her Audible, and she should probably focus a little more south. Maybe she was just faking it. But I was in a fake orgasm contest when I was 21, and I tied with another girl. Obviously, because nobody wants to hear guys orgasm. I was like, oh, game over. Right? But we were behind a screen, so you couldn't see us. And I did more of like just a breathy breathing, like just breathing. And she was screaming like a porn star. And they kept going back and forth with the applause, and then they made us do it again, and finally they just had to split the pot because people could not decide which one was a better fake orgasm. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, impressive. You can take those skills on the road.
Yes, well, and I have. But it is distracting when your partner's reaching over and they're touching your breasts and you're like, oh, that feels good. And then they start to roll down and you're just like, stop touching my belly. Stop touching my belly. Stop. Are you a fucking cat? Stop kneading my stomach. Get off of it. Right? And you're trying to concentrate. And you're like, ugh.
I think for me, it's always that like initial, well, there's two moments. One, the initial like shirt take off. I don't know why, but I am sometimes convinced that my partners don't know that I am fat, despite having already seen me. Like
that shirt's doing the camouflage for you.
Yeah. Like there's this moment of like, oh no, oh God, oh no, he's going to know that I'm fat. Like, no, girl, he knows. He's still here. He's into it. He's ready.
Right.
But in my mind, I'm like, oh God, he's going to see it. It's there. He saw it the whole time. And then I think the position change up sometimes where I'm like, oh, those are some tummy rolls. Okay.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of positioning. Like, pick a position and stick to it. Because now I'm distracted. Now I have to get comfortable again, and I don't know. I was talking to my guru yesterday about lubrication. And if you're going to switch positions frequently, you're going to dry out because you're adding additional air all of the time. So it does tend to make things a little bit more dry. In the college, are you in a college now where they're accepting of sex conversations? Do they provide condoms, lubricant, things like that?
So there are condoms, no lube, no female condoms, no dental dams. At least like not in our residence halls. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you can get those things from like the health center, but there are a women's center. We don't necessarily have a specific women's center, but we have folks doing work supporting women.
Are you in a smaller school or a bigger one?
Mid-size.
Mid-size. Because I know up at UConn they have a whole women's center where they talk about everything. I'm big on giving out condoms to my daughters, and I'm like, if you don't need them, then share them with your friends, but just share that shit like glitter. Give it to everybody.
I had a group of students one year that were like really into the one brand condoms and like collected them. They had like a big display in their room, and it was just because they had cool designs.
Oh. Yeah, but I don't want them to be decorated with. I want them to be worn and used.
I mean, they weren't having sex, so they had no real reason to use them. But if they were going to have some sex.
Now, how were they affixing them? How were they affixing them? They weren't sticking them with tacks, were they?
No, they had little like tape rolled on the back. So it was a fun bunch that year. So I had my girls who were just like collecting various designs. And then I had my like machismo frat guy of the floor who just cleared me out one day. He just took all of the condoms and all of the lube. And then it came time for move out and he tried to return all of them.
And you're like, no.
He's like, I didn't end up needing these. If you want them back. Nah, I'm good. You can keep those. Check the expiration dates on those.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, I think where I'm at currently, we have some conversations. I think it's more, so I think there's kind of like 3 flavors of universities right now. There's the schools that are like very vanilla. Typically, you got your schools, some of them in the South, your small privates, your religious institutions that are like, we cannot have this conversation at all. And those are the students I think that need lots and lots of love. I think you kind of have your sort of your tutti fruities that are like, We will have all the conversations, any of the conversations. You want to bring in a speaker to have an event about bondage? Let's talk about bondage. That seems fun. Like, I went to a program once and learned how to put a condom on only using my mouth. That's that kind of college.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, cool. Y'all give out vibrators at programs. You can spend money on that. Dope. Amazing. And then you kind of have your swirls that are like, we will have some conversations, but within this kind of like neat little box. We are okay talking about consent.
Yeah.
Broadly. We're okay talking about contraceptives. We will give out condoms. Those seem like safe conversations. I think there's lots of conversations around sexual assault happening on a lot of campuses, which I think is really positive. I also would like to see lots of conversations about how do we have joyful consensual sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, I think
enthusiastic
it is so
consent.
I think it's very powerful to validate and support survivors. I also want us to have conversations about how do you make sex a positive experience for you?
Yeah.
How do you have conversations with partners?
Yeah, the woman I was talking to earlier today, we were talking about condoms, and one of the biggest problems that I guess people in general, not just college kids, have is they've made condoms a negative thing. Like, you wear a condom because you don't want to get pregnant. You wear a condom because you don't want to get an STI. But it should flip the script. And you wear condoms because sex will last longer. You wear condoms because you'll be relaxed and you're not going to be worried about being pregnant. You wear condoms because they come in different colors and flavors and scents. And make it more of a positive thing. And it should be. And that's the one thing is like, the average guy orgasms in 2.8 minutes. The women take significantly longer than that, 18 minutes. So throw on a condom, it'll help even the playing field.
Right.
Do you want to enjoy your partner, or do you want to spend the whole time going camel toe, granny panties, baseball?
Right.
I mean, do you want to be outside of yourself just trying to hold on? Or do you want to be with your partner and, let the condom take some of the stress off of it so it's more, you have more time? It would be more cool. More cool. I just made that up.
I'm with it.
Yeah. All right. So what else can you tell me about sex in college?
Oh, goodness. Where to even start?
Dr. Debbie Herbenick does a study, and she asked a bunch of college kids, what percentage of the people that do you think just want to hook up? They don't want a relationship. They just want to hook up. And the number was something along the lines of like 60 to 70%. They think everybody else just want to hook up. And then she said, do you want to hook up or have a relationship? And that same grouping of people, 80% said they would rather have a relationship than a hookup. And so people are out there having hookups when they could be having relationships, but they don't want to talk about it. They're afraid to have that conversation. And that's sad. And that's something I think people should be like, that should be plastered on every wall in every college. 80% of you really want a relationship.
Great. And I think it's about, broader conversations that are happening around vulnerability around young people, about like, how do I admit that I want the relationship? And there's this like, I need to come across as like cool and aloof. And if I'm the person who admits first that I have significant feelings for you, then that puts me in a vulnerable position. That puts me in a space to be hurt. That puts me in a space where I am now having to keep my guard up, because what if you don't feel the same way back? And then I just had to make this really vulnerable ask. Yeah. But if I pretend that, it's not a big deal to me, or if it's just sex, if I get my feelings hurt, I can still pass it off as like, we were just hooking up. It wasn't
that big deal.
It wasn't really a thing.
Well, we never did DTR, so.
Right. We didn't have these conversations. Like, we weren't really together. And so if I get cheated on, it's not a big deal. If I didn't enjoy it, it's not a big deal. Like, it's whatever.
We never defined the relationship, so it was just a hookup. So.
And it's interesting. participated in an activity once so that sex carnival that I volunteered at, the station I was running had students define like their version of the base system. Like, what's first base, what's second base? Like,
right.
What do you think this means? And I had one very, very sweet young man who said that first base was just like when you meet somebody, like that initial conversation, like that's getting to first base. And second base is maybe like coffee. And third base is like a formal dinner date. And then like a home run is like being in a relationship.
Aww.
And I had one very fun young woman who said, she's like, wait, first base, that's like kissing. Yeah, she's like, first base is kissing. Second base, I feel like that's hand stuff. And then third base is sex. And she was with a friend, and her friend was like, if third base is sex,
what's a home run?
Yeah. And she looks at her and goes, I don't know, kinky shit. And so like it sparked great conversations that if we've got students on our campus that are saying that like, oh yeah, my idea of a home run is kinky shit. And somebody else is like, my idea of a home run is a relationship.
Right.
If they're both using the word home run, they are going to have a very different understanding of what that experience is. If they're both using the word hookup but aren't actually having conversations
of what the defining hookup.
Yeah. Or like, oh, you want to come over and chill? Like, dude, just say you want to have sex because I'm down. I am. Just let me know that's what I need to do. So I can prepare myself accordingly.
However, it would be awkward to just call somebody and be like, well, I want to come out and hang out with you with the hopes that at the end of the night we have sex. Cool?
Is it though? Like, COVID-19 aside, I don't know that I would be entirely upset if somebody was like very upfront and honest about, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Can I come scramble your guts real quick? Maybe. Depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
Exactly. It depends. Are you bringing chocolate? You bringing flowers? You bringing your A game? Or you just showing up half drunk trying to get it in?
Right. And even still, maybe it's been a long time.
Maybe my batteries ran low on my toy and I'm going to use you instead.
And so I think college students are in this interesting phase where one, communication is hard in general. Like, I have got oodles and oodles of students that are having a hard time, like, telling their roommate, I don't like it when you play your music loud, or when your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. It wakes me up and bothers me.
Yeah.
If you can't have that conversation, how are you supposed to have conversations with your partner about sex? Like,
that's a really good point.
And so they're like, no, my young women are not advocating for their own orgasm and being like, you know what? I'm actually not a fan of that. If you go a little to the left, stay focused, stop trying to jack her. Like, they're not necessarily confident giving the direction or giving the feedback because they're essentially socialized to be like, you need to feel small. You need to shrink yourself and make your partner more comfortable. Sex is not necessarily about you or your pleasure. Or we don't necessarily like normalize giving feedback.
Yeah, and I love talking to new people because I get all kinds of new thoughts and new ideas, and it's so important that we define what means what and having those conversations. But the fact that women are willing to play small to have sex goes back to me saying every girl should know about vibrators. Every girl should know how to take care of herself, because your pleasure is, honest to God, more important. It's yours. Somebody would say, what makes your problems bigger than anybody else's? It's because they're mine. So you have to make your pleasure tantamount. What good is it? Be like, oh, I'm glad you had a good time. What about me? It's okay to be selfish. And I really just wish that the girls could learn that. I wish women could learn it earlier, and I think they will. I think as these new generations, as parents are getting better, and as the conversations are getting better, we're going to have stronger, more positive sexual experiences. These new generations hopefully will pick up the torch and run with it.
And I think we're seeing more of that, and like more of women being confident in themselves, women being encouraged to be strong, to be vocal, to like advocate for their own needs. Because essentially, like, underneath this, like, oh, I should fake my orgasm, or oh, it's okay if I don't come, is like, well, I'm not important in this situation. I shouldn't be the priority. It doesn't matter. It's okay that if it wasn't about me, it doesn't need to be about me.
It should be about you. You are not a receptacle for his penis dump.
Right. Like, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking about how, large percentages of women can't come from penetration.
Right. So many.
And his first question was like, well, how would you know? I was like, what do you mean, how would I know? He was like, well, how would you know if you had an orgasm? I was like, what do you mean, how would I know if I had an orgasm? The same way I know if I'm sneezing or not. Like, either I am or I'm not.
I almost just spit water all over my computer screen.
So, one, I'm concerned about the women he's having sex with. Two, I was like, no, like, just because a man hasn't made me orgasm, like, I got it on my own. I'm very clear on what it looks like, what it feels like. I'm very familiar.
How would you know if you had an orgasm?
So the same way you do? I'm so confused.
See, this is why I love doing stand-up comedy sex ed, because I'm educating men and women at the same time. And so they can look at each other and be like, yeah, really? And so when I'm doing these shows, there are a lot of women who come with their partners, and they have conversations on the way home that they had never had before, because they'd never been in a situation where it had come up. And, on the way home, one can say to the other, well, what did you think when she said that about this subject? And I'm hearing feedback from women saying, I had such a great conversation with my husband, or we tried that position that you talked about, or, we got a lube. And I love that that I'm educating in a comedy way. They're still hearing it together so they can talk about it later on.
Yes.
And that's important, because apparently that guy had never had a conversation about how would you know if you had an orgasm.
And I wanted to ask, like, do you not notice a difference when you're having sex with women? Like, are you not aware? Okay, sure. But his next question for me was, so then do you just fake orgasms? And I was like, no.
Some of us do.
And he was like, but I'm like, listen, if you do not put in the work, you do not get an A. It is not my job to like make you feel good about the sexual performance you had. If you did your best and you tried real hard and it still didn't work for me, that's okay. But I don't need to like fake an orgasm to make you feel special and important.
I think a lot of women just fake orgasms so they will just get done. They're like, I'm not there today.
Yeah. The last man I had sex with, bless his heart, I don't know what he does for a fitness routine or who he is as a human, but it'd be like, sir, it's been an hour. Can we take a break? She's tired.
That's a long, long, long time.
It was so long.
Wow. No, I actually, I hate sharing these stories, but the fact is, if I talk, I'm going to say shit. I had gone home with a guy once from a bar, and I had an orgasm fairly quickly, let's say within 10 minutes. And then this guy just went and went and went and went, and he's trying different positions, and I'm just like, read the room. Can't you tell I'm bored now? But I actually at some point just stopped him and I said, you know what, this is the worst sex I've ever had and I'm done. And I got up and I left because I was just like, I have got time for this. Did you not hear me orgasm already? Wrap it up.
It wasn't bad. There is something about telling men, I've never had a man give me an orgasm. They're like, I will be the one.
Oh, every fucking time.
It is my time. Like, he even told me, he's like, no, I feel like, Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother. Like, if you tell me that you've never had a man give you an orgasm, challenge accepted. And I was like, sweetie, you were on a fool's errand.
Right. It wasn't a challenge. It was a statement. Yeah. The same thing happened, well, obviously before I got married, where I've never had multiples. I get one and it's good. And then sometimes I hear women and they'll say, well, oh my God, I had 7 orgasms last night. And I'm like, how are you alive? Because if I had 7 orgasms, I would have died of hyperventilation and a heart attack at the same time. So maybe we're not having the same level of orgasm. But I get one, and then maybe if I wait 48 hours, I'll get another good one. And however much longer I can make that last, that's how much better the orgasm is going to be. But if I try to do them on top of each other, they just get small and kind of painful. And so I've known this about myself since I was, 20, 21. And every single guy's like, oh, I can make you have 2 orgasms. And I'm like, no, you can't.
Right. Like, I have been to the Tasty Freeze in Orlando. I know how to get there.
I have been there. I circled it. I've got it backwards. I've had a double order. I've done a swirl. I'm telling you, I get one and I enjoy it.
Right. It's like, no, this was not me saying, please keep trying. Like, it was hours. I'm like, sweetie, you are attractive. You are doing great things. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
However, Tasty Freeze is closed.
It's past the hours we have cleaned up. We've got to go.
2:00 in the morning. Can we shut it down? Yeah, thank you for trying. Thank you so much.
Right. I learned after being married for quite a while, and in the beginning, we had that magic where we could come together. And then there was the weight gain and there was the babies and there was all this stuff, and it stopped happening. And for about a year, I would fake it. And then when he would go to the bathroom, I would quickly just rub it off. But I sell products for a living. And I said to myself one day, it's like the doctor with the sick kid. Like, why? Or the mechanic with the broken down car. Yeah. And I'm like, how are you educating all these women and you are not taking care of yourself? So it really just became a conversation. Like, listen, while you're doing your thing, I'm going to do my thing and we'll still come together, but it's going to require, an extra hand or, a bullet or whatever it is. I can't, And so now we're back to doing it together, but it's because we both participate. So now I'm not laying there going, okay, you have to do this for me. Now it's like, hey, let's do this together. And it's going to take. And when I was on antidepressants, good Lord have mercy. It took his 2 hands, my 2 hands, a neighbor's hand. I'm kidding. But it takes a village when you're on antidepressants. And you just have to say the conversation. And your partner should 100% be thinking more about you having an orgasm than how it affects his ego.
Right. And I think for a lot of our college-aged men, there's this, there's already all of this pressure around masculinity of I am a whole 20 years old and I need to prove that I am a man and I'm a big macho man and I have sex with lots of women and my penis alone will make her come. I need to do nothing else. And so there's this sense that if I have to use a toy, if I have to do something else, then I am less of a man. Right. I'm like, no, lube is great. I think for women too, I love Megan Thee Stallion. I love Nicki Minaj. I love Cardi B. I love female rappers so much. But all of these rap lines about people just having these natural waterfall gushing pussies. sets everyone up for failure. Like, there is so much high quality lube in the world. It's helpful. I'm like,
Yeah.
women, it is not your fault if it's not just a fire hose between your legs. Like,
right. There's so many things: heart and blood pressure medications, birth control pills, antidepressants, antihistamines, ugly partners, stress. You got an exam that you know you need to study for, you are not going to lubricate during sex at night.
right. And it makes it so much easier if people are like, oh no, we can't use lube, or we can't use a toy, or I'm like, okay, dude, if you can't stay hard, that is okay. You're not less of a human. They got these things. They got vibrating cock rings. They're great. It helps you, helps me.
Exactly.
We could both have a great time, but instead you're like, no, I must just will myself.
Listen, if you have any tools at all in your house that are electric, if you're using an electric screwdriver, if you're using a pneumatic hammer or a pneumatic nail gun, then you are already using tools for purposes, and it should be no different than your sex. Right? You could take all day long to put an IKEA dresser together by hand screwing it, or you can get out your electric screwdriver and go zzz, 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 zzz.
Right. Black & Decker is here to help you out.
Exactly. All right, so we've been on for almost an hour. I like to end all of my shows with a weird random trivia question about sex.
Okay.
I have this game. It is called Things They Don't Teach You in School. It's a crazy mix of fun facts, random trivia, and totally useless knowledge. So here's our weird sex question of the week. And this is good because we were just talking about it. On average, how long does sexual intercourse last?
And it's just open-ended. I get no multiple choice.
No, just a guess.
Yeah.
Average, across the ages, across the people, across the countries.
I am going to say 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say 20 minutes. It's 5 minutes. That's how long it takes.
Wow.
Average intercourse. That doesn't mention whether or not women orgasmed.
True.
Because if women orgasmed, it's probably 20 minutes. Although, I mean, if we're just talking penetration time, 5 minutes seems reasonable. But, not when we're talking about foreplay and all the other things that help us enjoy it. So, Jaylyn, how can people find you if they want to find out more about your speaking? Or just want to be friends with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jaylyn Janelle, or you can check out my website, jaylynjanelle.com.
Oh, cool. Spell Janelle.
J-A-N.
Oh, yeah, spell the whole thing.
Yeah, Jaylyn, Jaylyn, Janelle, Janelle.
All right, and I will have that in the liner notes. You can find me on Instagram at Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed. You can go to my website, standupcomedysexed.com, and I've set up a Facebook group just for this podcast, so you can participate in polls, ask questions, politely share an alternate point of view, and generally let us know what you think of this episode and all the other episodes. So search Stand Up Comedy Sex Ed Podcast on Facebook, and please subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me, Jaylyn. It's been really nice talking to you, and I hope you have a great rest of the evening. And so are you still in school, or are you out because of the COVID?
So I am considered essential, but so we still have some students on campus. We have about like 300 students left on campus. They're doing remote classes though. So
they just can't go home.
Very pared down. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like how it is here too. Oops. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for being on my show. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.